Game developers and publishers are entire teams of people, and though they're capable of creating massive worlds full of incredible experiences to cherish for the rest of time, they're still just that. People. We're all human, and we're all prone to mental lapses and aging synapses turning one thing cool or another avoided like the plague. Everyone has to start somewhere, and as the games industry is still in its infancy, many now veteran coders actually started in their 20s. What I'm saying is there are more than a few creative decisions, shall we say, over the years that are best left to the annals of time. I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com, and these are 9 things your favorite video game developers want you to forget. Number 9, GTA was created by accident, Rockstar. Despite Grand Theft Auto being one of the most lucrative and controversial franchises in entertainment history, its origins are both child-friendly and rooted entirely in happenstance. See, Rockstar didn't start out scaring parents and dominating tabloid headlines. Instead, they were working on a way more palatable arcade racer called Race and Chase. The game still featured police cars as players would contend in head-to-head races, but a glitch during testing caused the police to actually ram the players, ultimately forcing them off the road and into the sides of buildings. It was right here when Rockstar had their lightbulb moment, inventing the wanted meter mechanic and redesigning the game's focus to factor in cop chases, evading the law, and generally indulging in criminality. In a world where racing games were barely stretching their legs in 3D, it's crazy to think that a random coding bug birthed a household franchise the entire planet now knows inside out. Number 8, Sonic's 25th anniversary disaster, SEGA. Oh god, the humanity. Very rarely do you see something that should have been so simple. I mean, look, all they had to do was just put on a random lights and laser show that connoted Sonic in some way, result in the absolute clusterfuck that was Sonic's 25th anniversary. Toe-curlingly cringeworthy events and things included, in no particular order, a man in a Sonic costume who moved with such a lack of confidence and speed, he ironically embodied Sonic's own need to hit the retirement home. An assuredly lucrative Totino's stuffed nachos partnership that definitely didn't result in hosts forcing themselves to like said product, grimacing as they remarked on how utterly delicious they thought it was. One of the worst performances of anything ever by a band called Crush 40, who after many failed sing-along attempts from the crowd were forced to fill time, resulting in the singer just having a lie down. And lastly, literally every single second of everything except the Sonic Mania reveal, which actually managed to remind us why the character even matters and what triggered all of this happening in the first place. Number 7, it took over 10 patches to fix The Witcher 3, CD Projekt Red. We might think of CD Projekt Red as the no-bullshit darlings of the game industry, and yet for all those who played The Witcher 3 at launch, they'll remember a litany of patches and bug fixes across the first few weeks. Everything from animation glitches to quests failing to trigger, Geralt getting stuck in the world geometry, to his horse Roach likely getting snagged on a rooftop then responding to being called, Wild Hunt's launch day wasn't exactly the most polished thing. Of course, such a steady stream of patches showed that CDPR were watching and listening, eventually overhauling the entire menu system and Geralt's base movement responsiveness so that newer players got a demonstrably better version of the game. Come the time for Game of the Year editions and re-releases, this rejigged version is the new standard, essentially wiping away all those earlier qualms forevermore. If you buy The Witcher 3 now, you'll get the new and improved edition, not the one that all the fans had to slog through back at launch. Number 6, Watch Dogs' original and better textures were hidden in the game, Ubisoft. Watch Dogs' downgrade controversy dominated 2014, coming after the game had been delayed multiple times and seeing the version available at retailers being fundamentally flawed, less pleasing graphically than what was advertised. To that end, data miners uncovered the game's original graphics and texture files on PC, going on to say that the game was completely playable at this higher resolution. Now this countered what Ubisoft said about the game running smoother if you turn these enhancements off, as clearly the PC version could handle a far more stunning set of visuals. Following this, Ubisoft neglected to comment on the matter anymore, and Watch Dogs was forgotten, only occasionally discussed as one of the most disappointing games of all time. Number 5, The Elder Scrolls original artwork, Bethesda. Bethesda's art for The Elder Scrolls Arena, also known as the original Sans and Number, was more 90s than a pair of board shorts rapping about their hometown. Just look at the state of that middle character's armor, and I say armor as quote-unquote. It's the sort of formally acceptable toss that many female voices in the industry are continually having to rally against. And for good reason. It's hilariously bad, indicative of a developer mentality that targets horny young male demographics, one the industry has outgrown and one that Bethesda themselves certainly never returned to either. Number 4, Sonic's overly obsessed girlfriend called Madonna, SEGA. All the meetings surrounding what Sonic was designed to be, i.e. everything that Mario was not, resulted in a character that fell entirely into faux badass, cool dude kind of tropes circa the late 80s. As such, Sonic was lightning fast to counter Mario's platforming. He came with fangs because, I don't know, viciousness is cool, I guess? He played in a band where he was the lead singer, but worst of all, he had a long-legged, hourglass figure blonde girlfriend called Madonna who would chase him around everywhere. Straight out of the god-awful "a woman is nothing without her man" style mentality, Sonic creator Naoto Oshima described this idea of an entirely dependent woman as a male fantasy. though the idea that this was being applied to a teensy little hedgehog is probably something of an immersion breaker. Number 3, Guerrilla Games pretending a CG trailer was actual gameplay. Now you think that video game companies are duplicitous and manipulative now. Back in 2005 we had straight up fake trailers attempting to show off states of games that didn't exist and certainly weren't playable. Now let's break this down. The lead up to E3 2005 clearly had Guerrilla Games feeling the pressure from delivering another installment in Sony's only major first party FPS franchise. They were going up against Halo, which in case you need a reminder was kinda bigger than Jesus. And thus, when they didn't have anything worth showing off, the decision was made to show a CG recreation of gameplay instead. Everything was played straight-faced, with the team only admitting to their deception once the media started pressing the issue in every subsequent interview. In the end, Killzone 2's development was split across the PS2 and PS3, actually resulting in a protracted production that meant the sequel didn't drop until 2009, some 4 years later. Looking back, it's easy to see how PR stunts like this were instrumental in ruining the Killzone IP across the 2000s. Number 2, Peter Dinklage ever being in Destiny. Bungie. It's one thing to realize that after a casting call, an actor just isn't cutting it, but Bungie's tumultuous time with Peter Dinklage dominated the game's reception and overall coverage around launch time. As such, they completely erased him from the entire production. Not only was Dinklage replaced by Nolan North 1 year after, going on to reprise the Ghost role in all DLC and in Destiny 2, but Bungie also commanded him to re-record all of Dinklage's older audio too. Now the version of Destiny you can buy is helped along by Nolan North instead, with all association of Peter Dinklage being something of the past, only mentioned in the occasional pub quiz or to remember a time when Destiny was even more cringeworthy. Number 1, Naughty Dog's terrible original logo that also had a nude cheat. Clearly a product of Naughty Dog's initially tiny team size and a more radical appearance than the more respectable professional company that they are today, the original logo as it appeared on 1991's Rings of Power came complete with a Hawaiian shirt color combo and a beach babe alongside. Best/worst of all, if you entered A, B, C, down, right, and start, the lady would appear naked. Why? Because teenage mentalities and video games, that's why. Needless to say, Naughty Dog would debut their now iconic black and white with red paw logo in 1996 alongside Crash Bandicoot. Simply because Crash was such an astronomical success, it tends to be this icon that gets associated with the company, and indeed very few know of the hilariously terrible incarnations that came alongside their earlier work. And that's our list. I've been Scott from RockCulture.com. Let me know in the comments if there's any other embarrassing fails from the biggest game companies in the world. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe below, and if you're looking for more content like this, then try a few things that are floating about around my ears. Might be fun. I can't promise it though, but it might be.